This tiny country in Europe is causing the entire European economy to collapse. This is Finland, one of the most happiest countries in the world and filled with breathtaking beauty and lifestyle. But if you look at the numbers here, last month, its unemployment rate reached 10.6%, the highest of any country in Europe. To really understand how unusual this situation is, let's compare it with the United States. Since the end of the Second World War, the US has only experienced unemployment rates above 10% on 2 occasions. The first time was during the early months of the COVID lockdowns. The second time unemployment reached that level in the United States was during the recession of 1982. Outside of those rare situations, unemployment above 10% is almost unheard of in advanced economies. This is why the situation in Finland seems so strange to many observers. From the outside, it can seem confusing. How can a country with such high unemployment still maintain such a positive reputation as a happy country? There's a common saying that money cannot buy happiness, but the data suggests that wealth does play an important role. Almost every country that ranks highly in global happiness reports is also a wealthy developed economy. These countries can afford strong healthcare systems, high-quality education, safe infrastructure, and reliable social services. These benefits do not appear magically. They require large amounts of funding, which usually comes from taxes paid by workers and businesses. That is why unemployment can be such a serious issue. If too many people are not working, the system that supports these services becomes harder to maintain. This raises an interesting question. If Finland has unemployment rates that many economists would normally consider a crisis, why does the country still appear to be stable and prosperous? One possible explanation is that its social safety net is strong enough to prevent people from falling into poverty when they lose their jobs. Another explanation might be that the structure of Finland's economy is very different from other large economies like the United States, making direct comparisons misleading. Many economies are facing technological changes and automation that could disrupt labor markets in the future. The situation becomes even more confusing when you look closer at the statistics. While unemployment in Finland has been increasing, employment has also been rising at the same time. At first glance, this seems impossible. How can more people be unemployed while more people are also working? It sounds contradictory, but there are reasons why this can happen. To understand it properly, we need to explore the history of Finland's economy and the events that led to the current situation. To begin with, Finland was not always the advanced economy that it is today. Before the Second World War, it was largely an agricultural society. Most people lived in rural areas and worked in farming, forestry, or industries connected to natural resources. The country's economy depended heavily on timber, farming products, and basic resource extraction. Cities existed, but they were relatively small compared to the rural population. The Second World War changed the country's economic direction dramatically. After the war ended, Finland were required to pay significant reparations to the Soviet Union. These payments were extremely large relative to the size of the economy at the time. The agreement required Finland to provide industrial goods such as ships, machinery, and heavy equipment. This forced the country to rapidly build up its manufacturing industries. Although these reparations were a heavy burden, they also had an unexpected long-term benefit. To meet the demands of these payments, Finland expanded its factories, shipyards, and industrial production. Workers who had previously been farmers began moving into manufacturing jobs. The country quickly developed industrial skills and production capacity that would later become a foundation for economic growth. Over the following decades, another major change occurred. Finland experienced a large wave of urbanization. People moved away from small villages and farms and relocated to cities where industrial jobs were available. As cities grew larger, the demand for housing increased rapidly. Entire neighborhoods were built to accommodate this growing urban population. This urbanization created a powerful economic cycle. More people moving into cities meant more homes needed to be built. That construction created jobs, which increased incomes and spending. More spending encouraged businesses to expand, which in turn attracted even more people to urban areas. Over time, construction became one of the most important sectors in the Finnish economy. Low interest rates during the 2000s accelerated this process even further. Borrowing money became extremely cheap. people could take out mortgages with very low interest payments, making homeownership more affordable, developers responded by building large numbers of new apartments and houses. For many years, the housing market appeared unstoppable. Within a decade, employment in the construction sector increased dramatically. Construction alone eventually accounted for roughly 10% of total employment in the country. Industry revenue grew rapidly as new projects continued to appear across major cities. During this period, many people believed the housing boom would last indefinitely. However, history shows that housing booms rarely continue forever. By the early 2020s, housing prices had reached record highs. At the same time, global economic conditions began to change. The COVID pandemic disrupted global supply chains and caused governments to spend enormous amounts of money to support their economies. This led to rising inflation in many countries. To control inflation, central banks began raising interest rates. In Finland, interest rates increased rapidly from near zero to much higher levels. Mortgage costs rose quickly, making homes significantly more expensive for buyers. As a result, demand for housing began to fall. Once demand dropped, construction companies started canceling projects. Fewer homes were being built, which meant fewer construction jobs were needed. Housing permits fell to their lowest levels in decades. A sector that had once been one of the main drivers of economic growth suddenly became a major source of job losses. By the middle of the decade, bankruptcies in the construction industry had reached their highest level in more than 30 years. Workers who had relied on construction jobs suddenly faced unemployment. At the same time, the oversupply of housing meant the sector could not easily recover. Unfortunately, the housing collapse was not the only economic shock. Finland also experienced a major geopolitical disruption. The country shares a long border with Russia, stretching more than 1,300 kilometers. For decades, this relationship had been economically important. Russia served as both a trading partner and a supplier of energy resources. Before 2022, Russia was a major source of oil, natural gas, and electricity for Finland. It was also a large export market for finished machinery, vehicles, and industrial equipment. Many companies depended on this trade relationship. When the war in Ukraine began, this relationship changed almost overnight. Energy pipelines were closed, trade was restricted, and economic connections between the two countries collapsed. Businesses that had relied on Russian markets suddenly lost a major source of revenue. Border regions were particularly affected. Towns that had depended on tourism and cross-border trade saw visitors disappear. Local businesses struggled to survive, and unemployment increased sharply in those areas. Together, these events created a difficult economic environment. A collapsing construction sector and a sudden loss of a major trading partner pushed unemployment higher. In many countries, unemployment above 10% would lead to major protests and political instability. However, Finland's situation is somewhat different. Part of the reason lies in how unemployment statistics are calculated. In economic terms, a person is considered unemployed only if they do not currently have a job, but are actively searching for one. If someone stops looking for work completely, they are no longer counted as unemployed. Instead, they leave the labor force. The labor force includes people who are either working or actively seeking employment. This distinction explains why unemployment and employment can increase at the same time. If many new people begin looking for work, they enter the labor force. Some of them may quickly find jobs, increasing employment numbers. Others may still be searching, increasing unemployment numbers. In Finland, this is exactly what has been happening. Immigration has increased, retirees have returned to work, and more students have begun searching for jobs. These new job seekers expanded the labor force significantly. Some of these people found employment quickly. Others are still searching. As a result, both employment and unemployment statistics increase simultaneously. Another important factor is Finland's social safety net. The country provides extensive public services, including healthcare, education, unemployment benefits, and housing assistance. These programs ensure that people can maintain a decent standard of living even if they temporarily lose their jobs. While these benefits provide security, they can also create economic trade-offs. In some cases, the difference between unemployment benefits and low-paying jobs may not be very large. Combined with progressive taxation, this can reduce the financial incentive for people to accept certain types of work. Housing policy also plays a role. Finland has implemented strong programs aimed at ensuring that housing remains affordable and that homelessness is minimized. These policies have been very successful compared to many other countries. Despite economic challenges, Finland continues to maintain relatively stable housing costs and low levels of homelessness. However, these programs require substantial government spending and taxation to maintain. Even with rising unemployment, Finnish society remains relatively calm. Many citizens see the current situation as a temporary phase rather than a permanent crisis. The country has experienced economic ups and downs before. Finland's culture places strong emphasis on resilience and perseverance. There's a well-known concept in Finnish culture that roughly translates to determination and inner strength. It represents the idea of staying calm and persistent even during difficult times. This mindset helps explain why the country does not react to economic problems in the same way as some other nations. People expect that difficult periods will eventually pass and that the economy will recover. Finland's happiness does not come from having a perfect economy. Instead, it comes from strong institutions, social support systems, and a culture that values stability and cooperation. The country has built systems designed to protect citizens even when economic conditions become challenging. In the end, Finland offers an interesting example for the rest of the world. Economic growth alone does not determine the well-being of a society. Stability, security, and social support can also play a major role. The economy may struggle at times, but when a country prepares for those challenges in advance, people are better able to face them together. Finland's current situation shows that even during periods of high unemployment, strong institutions and cultural resilience can help maintain social stability and quality of life. And perhaps that is the real lesson. Economic downturns are inevitable, but the way a society responds to them can make all the difference. Finland may not have all the answers, but its experience offers valuable insight into how countries can build systems that help citizens endure difficult times and continue moving forward. Let me know your thoughts in the comment below and make sure to subscribe for our next interesting video coming soon. This is Rob, and you are watching Beyond Economy.